Welcome to another movie plot and enjoy the memories. We open on an isolated island with a few abandoned cabins and an old monastery. The nuns of this order meerkat themselves atop a cliff every evening with their burning crosses like the good Lord intended. Inside, a priest studies an ancient book about a cosmic demon so that night God sends a vicious storm to batter the monastery. That'll teach Mr. Priest, who is part of the church, collapse on him and a flood of water rush inside that begins to fill the room. Meanwhile, a young girl gives a nun a pagan artifact that depicts the demon's face, so she rushes it over to the priest. He can't hear her knocking as he's too busy drowning and gets impaled by a fallen crucifix because the big guy really has it out for him. In the morning, when the storm passes, the nun with the artifact climbs to the island's summit and stands atop it overlooking the sea. Before she can cast the tablet into the ocean forever, an unseen force pushes her off the cliff and she shatters on the rocks alongside it. The blind Mother Superior sends out a penguin patrol of nuns to collect the broken pieces of the artifact, then bring them down to the catacombs. They hide them inside small containers scattered throughout, and we jump ahead 20 years to a new recruit named Theresa. She takes a crucifix and smashes a hole through the side of her wall to enter the catacombs beneath the monastery instead of just using the door. They lead to the old flooded church, where she finds the rest of the nuns conducting a sinister ritual in which they T-pose face down on the floor. Another 3 ladies are whipping themselves like they're in a CrossFit challenge because no pain, no gain in the eyes of the good Lord. Theresa concludes that these people are crazy, so she tries to steal one of the artifact pieces but gets knifed in the back by a hooded figure. We cut back and forth between the murder and Grandma's flagellation while some of the younger nuns look at each other like, what the hell? Theresa's body slumps over the crucifix that the cult worships while a blind man paints a mural of the scene, which is impressive considering. During this time, Theresa's friend Elizabeth travels to the island because her father recently died and she just learned that he was making payments to the nuns. She reaches a port on mainland during a heavy rainstorm and tries to bribe a seaman to take her to the island with like $8. He says it's too dangerous because of the storm, so she throws in an extra 3, but the soggy Popeye isn't so easily bought. Fortunately for Liz, she finds another one who's willing to make the trip, but this guy stands so close that she can smell last night's tuna. They then cram inside his boat that looks like a phone booth, and we meet the captain's pet golem, who he says keeps away the crazy people. Probably because they all look sane next to Fishboy, and Liz reaches the island to never see either of those two again or get an explanation about the mutant. At the monastery, she's greeted by shy girl Sarah, who says that her friend Theresa left the island, but not that she was knifed in the back. Elizabeth reveals that she was actually born on the island, but mom died in childbirth, so her father raised her here until she was 7. He then took her away to live on mainland, but she can't remember anything from her time on the island because of the amnesia of convenience. Soon Liz meets the Mother Superior, who communicates through an assistant and says that no evil from the outside world influences them. Elizabeth says that they won't be needing her donations then, but Sister Snapback retorts that money falls in that gray zone of necessary evil. They tell Liz to stay with them until she makes up her mind, but confiscate all of her earthly possessions until she leaves. One nun's straight body blocks her like a chapel enforcer until they take all her things and leave to go sell them on eBay. While staying here, Liz is given access to the dusty library and discovers an ancient book containing the image of a demon with udders. It's full of Lovecraftian stories about a cosmic being emerging from a pit in the basement, so Liz decides to check it out because what's the worst that could happen? The shadowy sisters are doing their nightly burning cross pilgrimage and carrying a shrouded corpse out of the catacombs. It's probably Theresa, so she follows them until coming across the Oracle's underground studio and the painting of her dead friend. The nuns must have crossed this bridge thousands of times, but when Liz tries, it gives out and she collapses into the gallery. When the elderly artist approaches, Liz runs away because that man is scary as hell, but he was probably just trying to help her up. Sarah says that she had no idea that everybody else in this convent is part of a murder cult, so Detective Liz is like, okay, I believe you. Sister Suspicious then takes Liz up to the attic where they've got all of the Oracle's paintings depicting the future. They find one of 2 young girls with the pagan tablet when Sarah decides that now is a good time to split up. Immediately Liz gets jumped by an assassin sister who tries to strangle her with a chain because the rosary beads weren't strong enough. Luckily, the attic has a door that leads to certain death, and Liz manages to shake one of these flying nuns who need to start wearing parachutes. Sarah returns just in time to save the day, but says they have to wait a week until the next boat arrives to leave the island. Before bed, Liz says that her father's dying wish was that she never visit this island, but we're long past that now. During one of her dreams, Liz sees 2 young girls in the catacombs without the tablet, as well as a crucified nun, and this woman is terrifying. In the morning, she sees a boat leaving the island and realizes that Sarah was lying to her, so goes down to the beach to question some locals. She finds the place scattered with dead fish, so begins eating them raw like the mutant merman before coming to her senses. It then feels like we leave the island and step into the backwoods of Deliverance as Mr. Handsome introduces himself as one of the homeowners. He's rather friendly despite the blood and produces photos of Liz's birth parents and a letter from Theresa that was never posted. It just warns her not to come here and says that if the shattered tablet is rejoined it'll awaken a demon, which is why she tried to sneak a piece off the island. When he begins throwing out chum from a coffin that's probably the remains of Theresa, that's when Liz leaves to go find the woman photographed with her parents. She's blind and sewing the image of the tablet but recognizes Liz because she's her grandmother and helped raise her before the mainland amnesia. At her cabin, Liz begins to recognize the place as her childhood home and herself from photos as the little girl from the creepy visions. She remembers having a sister, but before she can ask Grandma, the Nuns' incendiary unit arrives with their burning crosses. They hurl them into the cabin, so Liz figures every woman for herself and runs out the back door while leaving Granny to burn. Everything of her previous life goes up in flames, including her last family member, while the Oracle paints Liz herself in the fire. It's delivered to the Mother Superior, who smudges off the wet paint and reveals an image of the demon that's imprisoned in the basement. She sends Assassin Superior to kill Sarah, but when she pulls her 8-inch stabbing cross, we cut to the hit nun dead in a chair. At the same time, Elizabeth collects the artifact shard from the sunken church that Theresa tried to get away with. On her way back, one of them assassin nuns attacks Liz with a knife, and I think this is Mother Superior's translator, but the penguin costumes make them all look alike. Fortunately, Liz manages to bash her brains out on the floorboards because she's over this crap and just wants to go home. In the catacombs, a procession of nuns approaches the demon's resting place, but something else exits and slaughters them all. The Oracle is shown using the Mother Superior's blood as paint while Elizabeth enters the deepest chamber of the catacombs. She comes across Sarah standing in a haze, and for good reason, because the nun takes off her robes to reveal her 6 boobs and demonic exterior. They're both daughters of the demon who had sex with their father through the cultist mother, but luckily Elizabeth didn't inherit the udders. The nuns were only trying to prevent Elizabeth from learning her heritage and attempting to free her mother, so Sarah slaughtered them. As kids they had previously tried, but Liz ran away scared and was the little girl who gave the flying nun the tablet. While her sister must have been the one who yeeted her from a cliff and shanked Theresa, but the other nuns didn't know it was Sarah. It's time to pick up where they left off, as Nipples has collected all of the pieces of the tablet and waited 20 years for Liz to return. The D-Mom busts a hole through the wall so she can watch her daughters complete the ritual as they sacrifice the last living nun. Sarah rips out her heart while the demon feeds raspberry ribbons to Liz that presumably came out of the unpackaged nun. The blood that falls on the tablet causes it to become whole again, and the girls raise it up towards mommy like they did as children. As soon as their mother begins to break free from her prison, Liz shatters the artifact into pieces and runs away just like she did the first time. The basement seals Sarah's 6 tits inside with her mom while Liz escapes, and we jump ahead in time to a nun standing on the shoreline. It's Sister Elizabeth, who now lives here as the blind Mother Superior to prevent her own mother from escaping. And the movie ends.